Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started here. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today, and I'm so glad you're here. I know we're doing this a little bit late, I will say, for the holiday season, because I know holiday season, we're like right in the middle of it, but I figure better late than never. So we'll get started into some tips and tricks, and it's not this presentation is a little bit different because I tried to go about it as not necessarily the eat this and run this far and burn those calories, because that's ridiculous, right? We all know that that's a hard thing to do, and it doesn't necessarily work that way. And there's so many things that are compiled in the holiday season to think about. So hopefully I can get you thinking about some different aspects of it, some different areas that you might not have thought of before about being areas that could be problems. So we'll dive into it here. So really quickly, for those of you that don't know me, this is me. I am on, if you're looking at the screen, I'm on the left. And that's my best friend, Lacey. And I love animals. I live in the country. I have chickens and bees, and that's just who I am. And I love nutrition. I love educating on this stuff. I was born and raised in Colorado. I do have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, which relates really well to nutrition. I've gotten a lot of extra education in the nutrition field, so that's been great, which has led me to be a holistic nutritionist. That's my daughter with our produce from our garden. So I do like talking about food, which we'll touch on in this, but this is more about a behavior plus change. So just keep that in mind. Oh, and if you're logging on, just make sure you are muted so we don't have any feedback. And if at any time you can't hear me throughout this presentation, please let me know in the comment box and I will try to fix it as soon as possible. But so holistic nutritionist, back to the presentation, that just means looking at the body as one and not necessarily separating our mind from our body or what we're eating from other different types of like skin. If we're getting acne, it could possibly be related to what we're eating, kind of putting everything together and treating the body as one and taking food into account first of all, because that's what's running our system. That's what we're putting into our system. That's what we're using as fuel. So it's so important. So that's really where I come from with that. Next up, I am a mother. I do have another one on the way, so I'll be out in February, but I get it having a family, especially females, but even males. I mean, we really take, once we get busy with work, with family, with just the daily to-dos, and especially around the holiday season, we tend to let our healthy habits go, and we tend to put ourselves on the back burner and not continue our workouts, not continue our healthy eating. It tends to fall to the wayside this time of year. And just having a family in general, I feel like it happens, but this time of the year tends to be the worst. So kind of bringing it back, getting the focus on health still, because we can still be healthy and have a good holiday season. And with that, this is my family, a very old picture of my family. I put them up here because it's so important, family, and they kind of rule how we do things, because family is why we do a lot of things, and family is the reason why we have a lot of the habits that we do and the things that we do during the holidays, what we eat during the holidays. And sometimes they can be a little stressful, sometimes they can be, there's a lot to it, and just knowing that it is just a single time, but you have control of your own health, and you can navigate family, navigate those meals that they're making, navigate parties, but still maintain health and maintain a good relationship with family. So it's an 80-20, right? We have to look at life as healthy 80% of the time, that's our lifestyle, and then 20% of the time we give a little bit. So this is really important right now, as it is all year long. We have an easier time adhering to this all year long, I feel like, but this time of the year, that 20% becomes 80 almost, and our healthy habits fall to the wayside. So start thinking about, yes, I'm going to enjoy this party. I'm going to go and I'm going to have some beverages. However, tomorrow I'm still going to pack my lunch and work out, because that's my 80%. That's what I do. That's my lifestyle. That's where I'm healthy, and not letting this get taken away from us and really focusing on bringing it back to that lifestyle, but not feeling guilty when we do give a little bit, because it's not a bad thing. We want to enjoy life and enjoy parties and enjoy family. However, to maintain that health that we do have to return to our healthy habits that we know are good for us. So just real quickly, my philosophy on food is to eat real food, right? So stick with real food. It's colorful, nice food that is grown, that's real, mostly plants. People tend to forget about plants. We turn to processed and a lot of animal products, and not that we shouldn't eat those things, but we need to focus on plants mostly and then have the other ones fall into place. Limiting the process, so we'll talk about that a little bit. There's a time and place for supplements, right? We can't, that's exactly what it is a supplement for a meal. It doesn't really replace real food, but if in times of need, it's there. And it's all about having that lifestyle. We want to have our lifestyle that we know works for us, and keeping that lifestyle there and having it a part of your life. That's what you do. It's not a diet. It's not anything that your neighbor's doing. It's not in a book. It's what works for you, and it's how you live and how you thrive. And it's about keeping that lifestyle and keeping it in check, especially when you get busy, especially when you get stressed out, and not letting those things rule your lifestyle. You're the one that determines how you live and your lifestyle that you create for yourself. So real quickly, those of you that have entered in a little bit late, there's a chat box. So if you want to try to answer some questions, please write in there to everyone, and we can kind of have a little bit of a chat, maybe. But why do we eat? And I have on here, it's our energy source, correct? Our food is the fuel that runs our body, pretty much like fuel that runs a car. So it's very important what we're putting in our body. And with that, there's 6 essential nutrients. I just wanted to hit on this before we go into the holiday things. 6 essential nutrients. Can you guys list out some of them if some of you want to type some of them in? And then we'll go through them. Go ahead in the chat box. Hopefully everyone can hear me, correct? Fruits and veggies, good, good. Fruits and veggies, yes. Carbs, perfect. So fruits and veggies are carbohydrates, which, yes. And then we have fats, good. Protein, perfect. So we've hit on carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. What else? I'll give you a hint. Amino acids, those are proteins. Good, though. That's part of your protein. So think about what comes along with our vegetables. What are we getting out of vegetables? What are we getting out of fruit? What are the reasons why we're eating those colors? Fiber, minerals and vitamins. There we go. So here's your vitamins, and then we have minerals, and there's one last thing that is essential to life, and we don't necessarily think about it as an essential nutrient, but we drink it, and we should be drinking it all day. Yes, somebody got it. Hi, Victoria. So it is water. Good. Those are all of them. So here's our list. And those of you who have been in my presentations before, which I think some of you have, you know I'm big on this, and I really harp on eating all of these every time you sit down to eat. Because a lot of times what happens is we eat fast food, or we eat meals that are high processed carbohydrate and high fats, and yes, they taste delicious. And yes, holiday foods are going to be high carbohydrate and probably high fat, right? There's not going to be very many vitamins and minerals, especially on the cookie side, unless you're making cookies with black beans or something, which could be, maybe taste good, but you know, not likely. So we're missing a lot of this profile. This is what I call a full nutrition profile, and we want to make sure we're getting this every time we eat. So when we eat those meals that are high in carbs and fats, then we're hungry not long after, because we're missing all these other things, and our body's like, hey, I need some vitamins and I need minerals, because if I don't get minerals, I'm going to pull it from my bones. So osteoporosis is on the rise. We have a lot of bone density issues because our minerals we're not eating the minerals we need, so therefore the body has to compensate, and it's pulling from our bones. And then we're hungry because the body's telling you, eat, yet you've eaten 1,400 calories, so you have enough energy, yet we're not getting the nutrients. So we're overfed, undernourished, and we have to make sure we're getting this list of things every time we eat, and that will just help us tremendously. So this is a great thing, and when I say full nutrition profile, this is what I mean, thinking about getting all that. Now, carbs, fats, protein, that's easy to kind of spot. I mean, you can spot your vegetables on your plate, your healthy fats on your plate, and your proteins. How do we get vitamins and minerals? Well, those are going to be your colors. Those are going to be every different color that you have on your plate, your greens, your blues, your purples, your oranges, things like that. That's how you know you're getting vitamins and minerals. So when you look at your plate, we want to see a lot of color because that will be an indication that there's a lot of nutrients there. Notice the processed food is brown and beige. Brown and beige, we can eat some of, but we really want to focus on getting those colors versus brown, beige, and processed orange. We want real orange, right, with the cheese. So thinking about that. So our focus here today, we'll talk about a little bit about holiday stats and what's going on. I did a little bit of research to see how much weight gain is happening, why is it happening, what's going on, what do we do, what are we doing, right? Then we'll talk about why the weight gain happens, and I have my thoughts on it. I'm sure everybody has a different thought, and it might be different for each person. However, I'll cover a little bit of that, and then we'll talk about a few strategies. So hopefully it's not too late for these strategies, but you can apply them right now. And just even thinking about what we talked about in the very beginning is, you know, start getting back to your 80-20. Don't let it get out of control, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So real quick, back in the comment box, on average, how much weight is gained from November to January? And actually, I like to think of it as October, kind of, to January. Studies only look at November to January, but I think that October has a big play on it too because of Halloween and things like that. So one person said 10 to 15 pounds. Okay, yep. What else? Any other guesses? 5 pounds? It feels like a lot, doesn't it? It feels like a ton. Any other guesses? Those are good. So it's surprising. And when I started digging into research and looking at some studies that have been done, granted, you know, they're looking at different types of people, different areas. So it might not be as accurate for you, but on average, there's about a 1.3 pound gain over November to January. So it's not a lot. We feel like we're gaining a lot because we're eating very inflammatory foods. We're drinking a lot of beverages, alcoholic beverages. We are having a lot of cookies, which are all going to contain a lot of sugar, which make us inflamed, which, yes, that scale is going to reflect a little bit more. But really, when you come down to it, the actual fat gains, the change in composition over these 3 months of being outside of our normal thing that we do is only about 1.3 pounds. There's one study that went up to 5 pounds. I mean, the studies are kind of different depending on what these people are doing and how much they were eating before versus, so there's a lot of aspects. So I would say anywhere from 1 to 5 pounds, right? Now, the caveat to all that, with these studies, they showed it takes a very long time to lose this weight. It takes about 5 months to lose the weight if the people lost the weight at all. So the problem is that we're gaining this weight, but we don't ever really lose it. So each year we're gaining and gaining and gaining throughout these holiday seasons, but we're not getting back to our normal self. Well, why is this happening? What is the bigger problem? Is it the food we're eating? Is it what's actually going on? And I feel like when you look at what's happening, it's a break in routine. So the first 9 months of the year, we have this routine. We started up with our New Year's resolution. We decide we're going to exercise, eat healthier, and that lasts, and we do very well. And we set up that lifestyle. We have that lifestyle, that 80-20. We get all the candy out because we're sick of it because Christmas is finally over, New Year's is over. We're ready to start over, but we've done some damage the last 3 months. So looking at October is Halloween, and I swear Halloween candy starts showing up. I mean, October 1st, right? It's everywhere. And how often do you have a piece of candy in the first 9 months of the year? Not frequently, because it's not sitting out everywhere. Well, now October rolls around and you have candy at every desk you look at, every place you look at. You have it sitting in a bowl at home. You have it sitting everywhere. And your thought process is, or most normal Americans' thought process is, mine is even, okay, I'm going to have one piece a day. Like, what does that matter? I haven't eaten candy all year. I can have a piece here and there. Well, that one piece per day turns into 2 pieces a day, right? And then all of a sudden we're consuming so much extra sugar in a day, we're inflamed. It doesn't make us feel good, and that just starts out this whole holiday season. So we have to kind of look at what is our routine and what are we breaking? What kind of habits are we forming in these 3 months that aren't what we did the rest of the year? And we have to notice these things so that we can protect our health. So I think that break in routine is really essential, and it's something to think about. Like, what am I doing differently now than I've done the rest of the year? And we need to make sure we return back to that 80-20. Yeah, we can have a couple pieces of candy here and there, but get rid of it, get away from it so that it doesn't affect you for 3 whole months, because I swear that's how long Halloween candy sticks around, right? There forever. And then you have Thanksgiving, then you have pumpkin pie leftover, and you have Thanksgiving leftovers for how many weeks? And then we try to get back on track, but then it's Christmas and holiday parties, and then there's cookies and there's beverages, and so you can see how it's easy to fall into this cycle. So we have this cycle, and this is thanks to my friend Lacey. She made this. I edited a little bit for the holidays, but so we go on and we have a party that we go to. We consume, I'm up here, I don't know if you can see my mouth, but I'm up here with the sweets and alcohol. So we indulge in some beverages, which is fine, and we have some sweets, plus it's a late night. Well, now, how do we feel the next day? We have low motivation. We don't feel very good. We're inflamed. And, you know, that's to be expected if it's not something you normally do. Well, then it kind of affects how you feel for that entire day. It affects your routine. So then you end up not going to the gym because you don't feel like it. You have low motivation. Then we get home and we tend to sit. Then we think, what the heck? I already ate bad yesterday. I'm just going to continue this week and or continue this day. I'm going to have another drink. And I'm going to have another cookie. So we get stuck in this cycle, and it's very, very hard to get out of this cycle. So we want to break it. Once we go ahead and have a night, because that's what we do. We're human, and we want to be social, and we want to go out, and that's our 20%. But we have to make sure we get back on our bandwagon. We still pack our lunch. We still go to the gym. And that motivation factor doesn't kick in, because once it kicks in, it's so hard. We all know it's so hard to get out of the cycle. And I think from these months that this is just what happens over and over and over again. And we might have some good days where we exercise and feel better, but then we go back to another party and it starts all over. So just thinking about, all right, am I stuck in this cycle? am I having this happen? And so let's talk about some strategies, because it is hard to go to parties and not have a beverage sometimes. So how do we work around that? So first off, like I've been saying, stick to your routine. Even if you do have those beverages, a bad meal, some cookies, just get back to your normal routine even the next meal. If you have a potluck at work, you eat a whole bunch, make sure that dinner is a good, wholesome meal. Maybe a little smaller than you would normally do, so that you feel good the next day. Make sure you still get your workout in. Make sure you still are moving and doing things. Now, planning splurges is huge too, because if we're splurging at every party we go to, and you have a party to go to every, like a Saturday and a Sunday and a Friday, and you're just having all these things happen, well, sometimes those splurges aren't worth it. And sometimes it's worth it thinking, okay, you know, my good friend or my mom makes the best chocolate cake. I am going to eat her chocolate cake on this day, but then when I go to this party, you know, it might just be cookies and things like that. I don't really need them that day because I'm already going to splurge here earlier in the week. So you can kind of look at your week like that. Or if you plan to just eat maybe a very small amount of what is at that party, so you don't feel deprived, but you're not overindulging. And, you know, it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset when you walk into that party. And if you have your mindset that you're going to not indulge in everything, then it's a lot easier to do that. Or if you have your mindset, you know what, this is my night, I'm going to not care and eat whatever I want, do that, but then make sure you have the mindset you're coming back afterwards. So kind of plan it, think about it. Think about what you're going to do, plan it out. And I know it's a little bit different than just enjoying, but if you think about it and try to plan it, and try to get it to where, all right, you know, sometimes these cookies taste good, sometimes they don't. It might not even be worth it to eat them at that point. So starting to think about that. Next up is mindful eating. Don't stand next, I can't do this. I can't stand next to the food, anything, while I'm at a party, because I'll just stand there and eat it mindlessly while I'm talking, right? You just keep grabbing whatever is there to eat. You're not even thinking about it. You're not tasting it. You're not seeing it. You're not enjoying it. And then you're miserable by the time you leave. And then it starts that whole cycle. So be mindful about what we're eating. This is kind of going back to setting your mindset before you walk in and being mindful when you are eating. And if you do have a potluck at work, that's great. Maybe enjoy a little bit of what everybody brought, but be mindful while you eat it and eat it slowly. Make sure you're tasting it. Make sure you are hungry. And if you're not really that hungry, maybe not eat as much so that you walk out feeling a little bit better. And I know this is hard to do, especially when sweets take over our brain, but stopping to actually think about some of these things can help tremendously. Next up is portion sizes. This is the same portion on different size plates. And studies show when there are smaller bowls of things, when there are smaller plates, people eat less food. So it's very interesting. Like I said, this all comes back to mind games, right? That's really all it is. So it's crazy how much we have control. We just feel like we don't. And it's hard to keep that control. It is. But using a smaller plate, especially at a party, allow yourself one plate, go fill it up with tiny taste of some, or maybe your favorite thing, but using that smaller plate will guarantee that you eat less. And look at how much you can fit, so much more. That portion size does not look big on a big plate, but it fills up the whole small plate. So you can see how visually you can change how much you're eating by using smaller bowls, smaller plates. And even studies showed that if they had a bowl, the same amount of M&Ms, one party had a big bowl of them, another party had a littler bowl. So the same amount, the party with the little bowl, people actually ate less of those because they thought there was less in there. They weren't going to consume as much versus the big bowl. The people ate 56% more M&Ms at that party. So it makes a huge difference on the serving bowl as well. So, you know, it's just your mind playing tricks on you, but be careful with that and enjoy some of it, but make sure portion sizes are small and your eyes are always bigger than your stomach. And once it starts tasting good, it makes it very hard to stop. So it does take some working with. Now this I threw in here because I think this is so important, and you can still do this at a party. If it's a party where you're eating or a potluck or something like that, take this into consideration. You have a quarter of your plate protein. That's a great way to go by. Just fill up a quarter of that plate protein. You can have a quarter of the plate starches, which around the holidays, you know, there's starch is everywhere, which would be like your potatoes or your rices or your things like that. So that can be that. And then get some vegetables, because hopefully there's a vegetable tray, or hopefully, I mean, even green beans. I know green bean casserole is not the healthiest thing in the world, but at least there's green beans in it, right? So maybe a little bit of that, something to get some vegetables on your plate to make sure you can adhere to a little bit of this, and then maybe a little bit of good fat. If you can set your plate up this way, that might help you out tremendously. So, and this is good, just rule of thumb for whenever you're eating, a good way to look at it. Focus on fiber. Hopefully, most parties and most places that we go do have some vegetables out. They have some fruit sitting out, things like that. Is it harder to pick those items? Absolutely. But if you're feeling on the fuller side, if you're drinking water and eating the vegetables, you're going to be less likely to indulge on the sugars and things like that. So just keep that in mind. And when there is healthy food out there, make sure you're trying to consume that possibly in lieu of or with some of the sweets. And then you can always bring a healthy dish yourself so you have something to eat there. And that always works quite nicely to have your own food there and everybody can get a little bit of that healthier dish. And then stress. So stress is huge throughout the holidays and we get carried away with all these things going on. We don't feel good. Our cortisol is high. we're out of our routine, and it's just all these things that pile up, and it takes us a while to recover. So stopping for a moment, recognizing, starting, again, being more mindful, looking at what's going on around you. Is it worth being stressed out about? Can we calm down a little bit? And, just kind of acknowledging that stress and working with it and knowing that, yeah, holidays might be stressful. Families are stressful. Believe me, I know my in-laws are in town right now. Love them dearly. But, it's there, that stress, and you just have to laugh at it sometimes and not let it get to you. Because if it gets to you, that's where it starts to damage your health. And we have control of that. We can't control anything but ourselves and the way we react to situations. So my father-in-law telling me I look like I'm carrying twins right now. I'm not even 8 months pregnant yet. So that was a little bit angering, but I can't control what he says or what he thinks, and that's just how he is. So, that stress is going to be there, and we just I have to laugh it off. We all do, and move on and not let it be detrimental to our health, because it can be. So, just thinking about that and stopping when you are feeling that stress and the pressure and the presence and the everything, to enjoy it, because it is a happy time of year and we all want to be happy, but starting to think about that. So coming through, bottom line here, we want to enjoy ourselves, right? This is a time where we should be happy, joyous, we're celebrating, we have all these parties, we see people we haven't seen in a long time. Enjoy people, enjoy your family, enjoy yourself, and enjoy what you are eating if you decide to eat it, but come back to your healthy routine, come back to your 80-20. Make sure that our splurges and our enjoyment are pretty much in that 20% window. Still enjoy yourself, but keeping your health on track as well, so that we're not a statistic, right? We don't want to be that 1 to 5 pounds gained that doesn't go away for the rest of the year. That's very stubborn, very hard to get off, because we've changed some of our habits, because our habits are not the same after December as they were before, and it's hard to get back to those habits. I've heard people over and over again tell me, I used to do this, but I don't anymore. Well, why not? Well, they can't recall why. So get back to what you were doing. Get back to your healthy food, your colors, your exercise, things like that nature, exercise. Oh, one thing I forgot to hit on is sleep. During the holidays, we tend to go to parties. We don't get enough sleep. We're drinking alcohol. Alcohol messes with our sleep too. So get your sleep and make sure you're getting enough sleep. Don't let that be something that creeps in, that you start not sleeping as well, because that's going to be detrimental to health as well. And sleep is so important. And, sometimes that stress causes us not to sleep, and it's such a bad cycle, but just getting that sleep will help clear up so many of those other things. And then don't feel guilty. So what? You went out, you indulged, you felt like crap. Maybe you didn't work out for the next day, but don't beat yourself up over it, because it happened in the past and now we move forward, correct? So even if you felt maybe a little crappy up to this point, start now, right? This is when you start. We don't think about what we did in the past. We can't do anything about it. It is what it is, and move forward and get back on your healthy train and feel good, right? That's it. Just try not to feel guilty about anything. Try to enjoy and keep moving forward. So in summary, really, we want to make sure we're making a plan. We have a plan. We're mindful about when we walk into a party. We're mindful about what we're putting in our mouths, what we're doing with our bodies. We're mindful about the habits that we have before the holidays, and we're carrying them throughout. We're still sleeping 8 hours a night. We're still working out. We're still taking our lunches to work. There's a lot of people that I hear that don't even bring their lunches to work during this time, because they kind of just fall off the wagon altogether. So make sure you keep your plan, manage all of that, keep it all the same, and still enjoy yourself. Manage your stress, so make sure those stress levels, you can control your own stress. It's how you're viewing the situation. View the situation differently so that it doesn't affect you. Because that comment that my father-in-law said to me is not affecting him, it's affecting me, but I'm letting it, correct? So I have to stop. So just thinking about these things It's easier said than done, yes, but once you start to get that in your head and change your mindset about it a little bit, it helps tremendously. And then returning to that normal routine and just enjoying yourself throughout this time and not beating yourself up over it and getting through the holidays a little bit healthier. So are there any questions at this point? I know that was a little bit shorter. Usually we do an hour, but I feel like hour-long ones are kind of hard to sit through, so now you can get some other things done and whatnot today. If you do have questions, you're more than welcome to email me. You can put them in the comments. I hope you got something out of this today. I tried to make it a little bit different than normal, do this, not that type of holiday presentation, because we all know if we eat 5,000 calories, yeah, we're going to have to run for miles on end to burn those off, and that's just not realistic. So I know once you eat it, just kind of, I think the bigger problem is really that habit that we form during this time. So just be mindful, and hopefully it works out for you for the holiday season. And I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll chat with you soon. If there are any questions, please let me know.